Welcome to the Millennial Network Podcast. Now your host, Coach Danny Renee.
Hey everyone, it's Coach Danny Renee, and this is the Millennial Network Podcast. Right here, we have here Coach Leah, who is with AJ Culture. Her business is AJ Culture, and she is a business strategist. So if any of you are watching this, you have a job, or you are a new entrepreneur, or you may not have a job, but you're trying to figure things out, everybody needs strategy. You know, we all need somebody teaching us how to run a business, because what I realize is that in order to run a successful business, you need to be organized and you have to have a strategy. You have to have a system, and that's what Coach Leah here does. So, Coach Leah, business strategy, AJ Culture. So tell me, like, okay, most people when they get into business, they like, all right, I need to do XYZ, but then you're the person, you're the coach. Like, how do you, like, we all need a strategy, but yet you figured out the strategy and now you're a strategist. Like, all right, I guess the question is, how do you become a strategist, a business strategist? How did you get there?
All right, so pull up a chair. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much, Danny, for having me on your podcast. And yeah, so 2009, right? I decide, I'm going to venture out, do my own. And we think about it, and I'm like, wow. I literally had this desire to want to start a business, to do my own. And I will tell you, what made me become a strategist was over 16 years of just trial and error, time off, time back. And it was just like, wow, there is not one person that can really streamline your way of like getting everything that you need in order, and in an effective way that you're saving time and money. And so just imagine me having to do all of like this learning because I didn't have somebody. And so when I listened to all the information that's out there, I was just like, we have to do better. Like, we have to literally set it up in a way that is successful. And so that's what made me become a strategist, is really seeing all the misinformation that's out there, seeing all the experiences that I had starting my businesses, seeing, and I mean, even I use myself as an example to teach people of like what not to do, how it can cancel you, how it can, and I can give you experience not only from me but from other people, and so understanding there's actually a formula that most people are not following when they need to start their business. And so when they start their business and they're looking for money, or they're looking for ways in which to increase their capital, if they don't check off a box, they're already disqualified. They're already out of the game. Nobody wants to work with them. They're already eliminated from potentially growing their businesses. And about 75% of businesses don't fail because they don't have a superior product or service. They fail because they don't have money. So if they don't have the money because they don't have the structure, then guess what happens? They're sitting here working a job, and really they can't level up because they've not put themselves at a place in which they can excel or even propel their organization, because they just don't have the financial support to invest or reinvest in their business, to even get staff or pay for marketing or pay for other products to then take their services and offerings to another level. So there is a whole, if you can get this good solid foundation, you can be really solid for you to have longevity. And what I say is, if you have a legitimate organization, you can then be credible. If you're credible, you're fundable. If you're fundable, you are then able to scale. If you can scale, you can survive. If you can survive, then you last time, which makes you durable. So there's a methodology that I've literally had to learn through experience, and just seeing, because even example, everyone talks about business credit. Business credit has been around for years, and nothing has really changed, but there is a methodology most people don't know, and they're like, oh, I'm going to go for this business credit. Why can't I get my score? Why can't I get business credit? Why can't I? Because they're not following the actual methodology to even qualify for those things. So, yeah, I became a strategist because it was ultimately saving people time and money of like, no, when you think this is going to help you, in actuality, it's hurting you. Or you don't need this thing. Yes, you do. And so that's ultimately how I realized. I was like, okay, we got to help save the culture, because we got people out here wanting to really make moves, and they have the drive and determination, but they come against these roadblocks that then knock them back down on their tush. Like, I'm just trying, and they can't get farther. So my encouragement is really to help people with that strong, solid foundation. No matter what the business industry is, have that solid foundation, and you can definitely propel your organization no matter the industry.
Got it. And I was going to actually ask you about the industries and whatnot. So you mentioned like misinformation. What misinformation do you feel has been out there, maybe was, and like still is out there right now?
So one of the things that I see, the one thing that comes to mind like right away, it was like, go ahead and start your LLC. First thing you should do, go ahead and start your LLC. No.
Yeah.
It's not. I actually came up with a formula, a methodology, and it actually goes in sequential order of what you should do. On that, number 11 is actually getting your LLC, your S corp.
Dang, number 11?
Right. Number 11, right? And you think about it, actually it's called the Starter 18, and the reason why, because there's 18 things that if you do in order, there is no other question about whether or not you are going to be credible or not. So the first thing that is on that list is getting your name. Name matters. Your baby comes out of your, you have a baby. What's the first thing you do when you meet them?
I love it.
So-and-so, you're so beautiful, right? But people having birthing these businesses, and they're like, "Oh, let me go ahead and sign up and get the paperwork." And I'm like, "No, you don't fill out your birth certificate first. You name your little one. That's what you do, right? Same thing with your business. Name it." But people are naming their businesses, and it's conflicting with other people's names, or it's literally too long, or it's not. It's hard to remember. And they're like, "Oh, but I want to name it." I'm like, "But do you want your clients to find you? Do you want your vendors to give you money? Do you want lenders to say, here's some money?" And that's another thing too. Many people are naming their businesses the services they offer. And it's like, wait, does Nike call himself Air Force One? Or do they call themselves Nike? And then they have brands, right? So, and that's another thing too. I have background in business. Went to Rochester Institute of Technology for marketing. And literally understanding the foundations of marketing and understanding the foundations of what it takes to really run a business. They don't teach you that in school, but there are some fundamentals that do lap over, right? It's like, you have to be rememberable. Your name, like, look at Swiffer. Look at Febreze. Look at Kleenex. Weird names, but guess what? They are household names. You need a tissue or you need a Kleenex. Most people are going to be like, here's my Kleenex, right?
Right.
So it comes down to the name even, and most people don't even see that as important. Say like, I'm going to just name it whatever. And then, then I'm going to get, my business phone, or I'm going to get, I'm going to put it at my house. Everybody talks about Bill Gates and all the likes that started their companies in the garage. They started it in the garage, but that did not mean that their business stayed in their home, right? So a lot of people are, it's okay, I'm going to put my private address in a public record. It's like, protect yourself. If a customer's upset, guess what they could do? They could find where you at. Like, no, make sure you separate that.
Good point.
And then, so I explain things from a logical standpoint, not just like, you got to do this because we being told. No. Why do you need your name? Because you want people to remember you. Why do you need your name? Because if you look at Twitter and TikTok, you can't go past 15 characters. So when people are like, "Oh, I'm ABC International Ventures," name too long. Who gonna remember you? Like, our attention span is 2 seconds. So why make it short and sweet? So, stuff like that where it's just like, a lot of people also, "Oh, you don't need a website." Okay. Remember last year, we lost Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. What happened if you had a website? You could still reach out to your clients because you own that intellectual property, right?
And so to your point, to not even like cut you off, like to your point, some years ago, I don't know if you know about the Facebook outage, like years ago.
Oh yeah.
It was worldwide. I lost my Facebook page for like 3 months. It just disappeared.
Oh.
And then I was just like, oh, I mean, I saw it on Instagram, but I was just like, what the hell? And then it was like, I knew I was disciplined with what you're saying. Like, I knew I should have had the website and different things, but I wasn't feeding into it. So that was a wake-up call. So, Mama, you can go back.
But a lot of people will tell you don't need a website. And I'm like, yes, you do. Because that's your digital home. And that's one of the things, you know, even as AJ Culture is my business, I do have brands. And one of my brands is Culture'Nique, where we actually full service digital design firm. We are actually your external digital department where we take care of your social media. So what? You don't like Twitter? You don't like Instagram? You're not on social media? You don't got a Facebook page? No worries. You know, let someone take care of it so that people can find you. The other thing about that, it's not just reaching your clients. Google me, right? Google Leah Erica Clark. You are going to see 8 pages of me. Why? Because I have a very extensive digital footprint. So when people are like, I want to lend money to you, they're going to see, oh, I ain't going nowhere, because they can find me places. But if I have one website and you can't really find details about me, you can't Google me, you can't look me up, what happens? They feel I don't know, should I give my money to that person, right? If you see somebody around the way all the time, you're like, hey, what's up? I know, hey, when they ask you for $5, you're inclined to give them the $5 versus some random person that you don't know, never seen, you're not going to give them $5, right? So it's the same thing where we have a digital footprint. We understand having that structure lets people know we are here to stay. We want to be around. We are taking the investment to make sure we're investing in our business. Again, building a website, building our digital footprint, building our product and services. And then we're also trying to reach our clients because we're showing you that we're going to actually try and get more money from these clients. And this is how we're doing it. So now you can keep track of what we're trying to do. So now when we're doing that, we're showing them we're actually wanting to be a legitimate business that's credible, that's fundable, that's scalable, and also it is durable because we have been able to sustain ourselves. And so that's where I say it's like when we're starting a business, we want to take these things into consideration because, again, we want people to be able to fund us and even to, pay for our services. So it's important that we have these things and we eliminate the noise. That's the other part. A lot of people like, go get your LLC. You don't need a website. Just, make it at your home. 3 no-nos. That literally gets a lot of people, well, I started a business. Yeah. I couldn't afford to do this and I got a Google Voice. You getting a Google Voice or getting a sideline or a phone app, they can see that. Because every phone number is assigned to a carrier. So when they are pulling your LexisNexis digital footprint for your business, because they do it for personal and they stalk you for business too. So when people see your portfolio and they be like, well, they don't even have a real cell phone. How they gonna take you seriously? So this is the conversations that I have with people to educate them on what is really necessary, but also just the logic behind it. Like if you were a customer and your business, you can look up Nike. You may not be able to find the CEO, but you can find a number somewhere to get in contact with them just by Googling them. So the strategy is really making sure that people have solid structures so that they can really propel their organizations. And if they know how to wash, rinse, repeat, they did this all well, they got this business up and going, cool. Now you can go ahead and launch your next business. There's a lot of multi-passionates out there that really want to thrive and make impact. But then each of their business has weak structure, and now they're just working 3, 4, 5 jobs versus like they got this one up and going. They built their model, their systems. They have their staff rolling that out. Now they can start their next business. So now people can have portfolios of businesses that are self-sustaining because they've built models and systems to implement that then creates their own income and revenue for that business. So.
Wow. I mean, that's definitely a lot to consider because, like, just hearing you out, like, I know the errors that I've done in the past. Like, even when it comes to the address, I learned finally last year that there's like websites you can go on and get like virtual addresses, because when you do fill out like your LLC paperwork and different things like that, it asks for an address. You have to put an address down there. And I think a lot of times it says what, like a physical address or something, whatever. But most of the time, like with these virtual addresses or whatever, like they'll collect your mail, scan it to you, see if it's something you want, yada yada yada, whatever. Think that's great. So you just talked about the foundation. The unfortunate part about foundation in every industry, there is a foundation, there is a system. You know, that's why people get into franchises, because it's already a foundation established, there's already a system established. You just put the money in, follow the system, and after so many years, as long as you got a good location, you're expected to make so much money, right? Now, some people, they built their house wrong. They started with the walls, or they started with the roof. They may even decided to call the electrical plumbing people first before they started with the foundation. So, I'm pretty sure you ran into these type of people. So, how do you fix a bruised foundation?
Oh man, it's funny you use a house, because that's exactly where I'm like, how do you build a living room and you ain't got a front door? What's
right.
So I appreciate that you actually say that, because yes, when people do find me, it's not, they're kind of in that space of needing repair, and it's okay. So actually, again, going through the start of 16, even with someone who jumped to, number 11, got their LLC, if they are in fact a business that's in a risky industry, right? Mm-hmm. Now I'm gonna say, because I know we met on a mutual industry for car rentals for cars, right?
No, it was the Playmakers. Yeah.
So
I was about to say I ain't in the car industry yet. I want to, but yeah, I ain't in it yet.
So for the Playmakers, shout out to Maddie J. For the Playmakers, we have many people in different industries, and so with even with the Playmakers, you have people that are in car rentals, they're in trucking, they're in all different kinds of industries. Mm-hmm. And with them having the riskiness of automotive, some of them may put their name like ABC Trucking, ABC Rentals, ABC. Remember what I said, people name their businesses based off of what they're actually doing. Mm-hmm. And so in those instances, think about it. If you're being limited because they look at your name, they judge you off of your name. They see your paper and it says ABC Truck. Trucking's risky. I don't want to put my money. You're going to be, you're shooting yourself in the foot just by giving that name out. So you either undergo a new name or you begin a brand new business. Because it's things like that where, oh man, I've had this business for 3 years. Cool, let's put it on the shelf. Let's get another one that's going to start and be safe. Mm-hmm. Because what will happen with that safe business is that they're going to see, ABC Consulting, cool. You just talk to people. That's great. You ain't running no lives, risking no business. You don't have fluidity of clash like that. Cool. We gonna work with ABC Consulting. And so then in this case, now you're building this profile, letting people know that I'm safe, right? That your money invested in me is going to produce a return on your investment. Whereas trucking and cars, we literally have fatalities that can happen. The vehicles themselves can depreciate. And then also with the depreciation and with fatalities, that means I may never even see my money again, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is again where it's like, if you're in car rentals, things can go wrong. If you're in trucking, trucks can fail. Trucks can, and then not to mention, it's like you have so much cash. That's the thing. They don't want to see so much cash going in and out of your account. Even though it's good, right? You're making money. Why wouldn't you want to see that? So again, with those risky industries, we start over. Go ahead, we're going to continue to build this business. We're going to make sure that you're getting clients, you're getting your service, but we're going to build one that's going to really help you, your second business, the one that's actually going to be safe. How you teach people how to do trucking, how you teach people how to get into this industry, right? So everyone can teach, actually. Once you master something, you can teach it. So, okay, cool. Now we have this consulting agency, and that will help people in those risky industries that they didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, because the Secretary of State scribes everything on its ledger, on your Secretary of State. So if you're registered in Colorado, you can look up the business, and I say Colorado because that's where my business is based. So you could look up and see everything. When I was reinstated, when I was dormant, when I filed my annual report, you can see that. Even you can see if I changed my name. So like I told you with LexisNexis, if I change my name from ABC or AJ Trucking to AJ Cultured, they're going to see trucking. They're always going to see that. I was like, wait, hold on, you weren't trucking? So that's where, again, it's like the risk is always going to be with you, even though you were named. But in instances like, starting over, we want to make sure sure, you can keep your business, but it will limit you on funding. What's going to limit you on funding will limit you on growth, which means that you're going to have to work even hard to get more external money to invest into your business. And so that's ultimately one of the things where, like, we have that conversation because you want to utilize the LLC structure to its benefit, which is to produce the ability for you to purchase things within your business name and be able to get the money to actually level yourself up to get to that scalability. The other part to that is that when you look at business credit and personal credit, because I do talk about business financing and business credit, which are both business funding. Most people are like, oh, I got a credit card. That's funding. That's financing. Oh, but I don't have business credit. I don't have my Dun & Bradstreet score. What is that? I'm like, you don't have business credit. That's actually what shows your business can actually get funding because you have relationships with vendors. So when I talk about that, I'm like, you can have your Dun & Bradstreet score, your Experian, your Intella score, your Paydex score. You can have those.
No, wait. Let's slow down for a second. Because you got me thinking. I'm like, so I'm familiar with Dun & Bradstreet and LexisNexis. But then you got me over here like, dang, I slacked because I did have a credit guy on here. And I'm like, I don't think not one time he told the audience, and I mean, it's not talking bad on him or anything, but I'm just like, dang, we didn't even touch on the Dun & Bradstreet number, and we may have talked about LexisNexis and all the other reporting companies or whatever, but I wanted to say slow down because people could be listening like, what in the world is she talking about? So can you explain LexisNexis to people, the benefit of it, and then the Dun & Bradstreet to people as far as establishing a business?
So, understanding personal and business credit. LexisNexis is an organization, a third party, if you may, that will scour and get as much detail about you, from how you spend to your purchase history to when you paid your bill on time, when you didn't, a bankruptcy, a marriage, a death, a birth. They will compile a whole profile on you based off of your social security number or your EIN number. So LexisNexis is a data collection company that actually collects all data related to you specifically or your business specifically. And so when they're looking up your information, they're providing your report to people who pay for it. So if I wanted to know about Danny, aka Danny Renee's LLC, guess what? I just have to put up her name, and I can go search if she has a DUNS number, and I can find out anything anyone would basically report on your behalf, because that's all public record for me to purchase. So LexisNexis will give me a whole report on your LLC so I can see what you're doing, who you have accounts with, where your business is registered, your EIN information, if you paid taxes, how much money you said you're going to make. All of that is compiled in your profile. So with LexisNexis, businesses are able to lend to you based off of that profile, because that's how they're not going to trust you and say, oh yeah, I make $1 million. Okay, cool. Let me go over here and talk to LexisNexis, and they'll give me the true statements on you, because there's no bias for them. They're just really into collecting information for you.
But so you can opt out of it too, though, right?
For personal, yes. For business, no.
Got it. Okay.
For personal, you can stop that reporting for your business now.
That's some good information, because I didn't know that. I knew it for the personal. Well, that's good to know for the business. I wonder, there's probably a way around it now.
But
maybe.
you don't want to though. That's
right.
the thing. You want them to know that you're
report everything. Okay.
Right. Because it technically works in your favor. It's like, oh, Danny Renee makes $20 million over here. Oh, shoot, let me go ahead and give her money. Because that's when actually people see your LexisNexis and start sending you offers.
Without you even having to go out there and go get it.
Right.
Got it. Because I do know.
Expensive you are.
Because I do know, like, once you establish a business, you had it for a minute. Like, even now, like, I'll get all these letters in the mail. Like, hey, business credit card. Here, try this business credit card. Blah, blah, blah. So I get what you're saying. Like,
what do you think they doing? They looking at your profile. They
yep.
like, she looks sexy. Go ahead. Send her some offers, right?
Yeah.
They love it. Because that's the thing. That's why I said you don't want to stop. And the personal side, it can harm us the more information they get. Because technically, all credit leads to bad credit at some point. Your name's spelled wrong. You got the wrong address. You got too many phone numbers. You make one missed payment, bad credit. Why? Because they profit off of you having a lower score. But in business, it's not the same because they see what you're doing. They are collaborating all that information and saying, hey, wow, she's doing this much. She's reaching her clients this way. This is her social media profile. Like, man, she's really talking to people. They see, it's almost like people are like, like a scout. And this is also why I like being called a coach. The coach is going to get you ready, right?
Yeah.
But you got people that are scouting you and like, oh, you see the stats on this dude? Oh my God, he's great.
I love it.
People in stands, right?
Yeah.
That's what LexisNexis to do.
I love the analogy.
They scouting for us, right? So that's why I say it's like we want the scouts to be like, oh yeah, I'm looking at number 15 over here. I'm gonna throw 100. You throw 200, because that's ultimately what happens with the Dun & Bradstreet score. There's 3 scores actually. It's your FICO delinquency score with Equifax. It's your IntelliScore with Experian, and it's your Paydex score with Dun & Bradstreet. Now, most people talk about you need your Dun & Bradstreet. No, it's like you need all 3 of them. Actually, you need your SBSS score, which is your small business scoring service by actual FICO, which makes you eligible for small SBA loans. So you got 4 scores as a business. So you want them to be like, oh, wow, your Paydex score, your IntelliScore, and are above 80, and then your IntelliScore, your delinquency score is above 400, right? So you want to make sure you have this score. With the Dun & Bradstreet, everyone is like, oh, I have the score, but they only have like 4 accounts. If you want to be eligible for, let's say, $200,000 in a loan, those 4 accounts have to totally equate to up to $200,000. So if you have like the Crown Office Supplies and the SUMA, which are commonly found when you Google, you have SUMA, you have Strategic Network Solutions. Those are just the common ones.
For office supplies,
$200,000. Yeah, for office supplies, right?
Okay, I forgot. I use a different one. I cannot remember the name of it. Quill.
So there's Quill. Yeah.
Quill.
So yeah. Quill, Uline, Crown Office Supplies, Strategic Network Solutions, SUMA Office Supplies, Ohana Office. There's so many of them. Those just get you started. But once you go there, you don't want to just stop. You have to keep going. So if I wanted to get a car for say, I need to show them that my business can pay for $40,000 to $50,000 to $60,000 to $70,000. And I can't do that with those 4, right? So people usually, they stop and they're like, oh, I got my score. That's good enough. No, it's not. You got to keep going. The reason why I mentioned that, remember what I mentioned about the scouting. The scouters, if they're in the stands and looking at you and they're like, oh, number 15 can get 100. Oh, no, I'm going to send 200. Or I'm going to send 300. It's because the accounts that you have in total fundability equate to the amount that you're next eligible for. So if I, for instance, am getting $20,000 here, $5,000 here, $10,000 over there, that's saying my total fundability is $35,000. So somebody else could be like, well, you paying $35,000? Let me go ahead and give her $40,000. Why? Because what it's showing is that I pay my bills on time or above terms, and then I can manage that level of debt. So then that means that I can manage a little bit more. So with personal credit, they cap you. they give you the amount and they see if you can maintain that. But with business, when you're first getting started and you show the investment, you show what you're doing, you unlock the doors for even more money. That's why businesses can get loans for 20, 30, 40 million dollars, because then they've shown they've taken care of their foundation, they've actually built relationships with other people, they are now able to get more funding, and collectively people want to throw more money into them to build and fund. So there's more money in having a structure and a solid one that's actually having relationships with vendors and actually doing legit work than if you were to just, I just want a freelance, and so this is again where, that's why I said, you got people throwing money in competition to you because now you're getting offers because they're like, oh, your profile, man, you got good stats. Like, that's investable.
Where more funding could probably go to what, hiring more people, to a better system that flows a lot faster, which once you opt into these more people or a better system, or like you were talking about trucking, more trucks, which is again more people, HR,
more equipment,
be able to expand your team a lot more to where you already got the system proven to work, because they're able to kind of see this, which is your version of scaling up to where you're making more money, to where you can pay all of this funding back and just keep growing from there. That kind of like in summary.
And then you can get more marketing to then get more clients, to then get more opportunity, visibility, to get more products, to even invest in R&D, for instance. If you wanted to bring a new product in-house, you wanted to, create more offerings, you want to expand your service line. That funding actually helps you to expand your business overall, not just equipment or not just staff, but it's actually like expanding the whole operations.
Got you. And where you located right now? I think you told me, but I forgot.
So my business is based in Colorado. I'm based in New York.
Okay, because I know you talked about the New York accent, but in Colorado, I don't know where South Carolina came from. Maybe that was somebody else.
No. Oh, that's somebody else. No, I'm familiar with South Carolina. Shout out to Charleston, because it's a very good memory for myself and growth for me. But no, I'm a straight New Yorker out of Queens. And that's another thing too. A lot of people think that they have to start their businesses in the home that they live. And I'm a very international, like, I travel a lot. So my business lives in Colorado forever.
Why?
And that's another thing. Because so there's benefits to each state. My son's company is based in Wyoming, because there's benefits for his company being there. And so
I love it.
This is where listen, he's about to celebrate his 4th birthday. His business is about to celebrate his first birthday. So, it's understanding the benefits of what states offer. And I'm gonna tell you, New York, I love New York. But their system of where, how you actually have to work with their incorporation and their taxes, it's not great. It's not easy. It's a very cumbersome system. And I know this from experience from my mother as well as other coachees. And so I'm like, there's not really very many benefits of working there or incorporating in New York. But then there's other benefits. Everyone knows about Nevada and Delaware. But there's other states that actually have lower fees and allows more funding for you, being that you're supporting their state with your business.
Which is why even in the film industry, the main company may be based out of California, but then they still come to Atlanta or Georgia in general because they get the tax benefits. Or Michigan at one point. Go ahead.
And that's also setting up foreign entities. A lot of people, I'm in New York and I'm operating in Florida. It's like, okay, set up your foreign entity in Florida. And it's such as Microsoft. Microsoft is actually foreign entity in all 50 states, so that they can operate and have locations in all states, and they're paying taxes for their service taxes, sales taxes, and employee taxes for each individual state. So they're incorporated foreign entity wise in all 50, because that's where they have staff. So there's a lot more to it, where again people are like, oh no, I just want to sell this thing and be a solopreneur, and it's like, what happens if you could grow this business and you could be at home while your business is working, right?
Man, that's the dream for most, at least. Yeah. So let's go back to the baby. You were gonna say something else last before we go.
I was just gonna say it's not taught for us to think about or dream about scalability, because everyone just wants to start their businesses, and really for you to scale starts from the very thing, the very name you choose, right, from the very beginning, and having that solid foundation to even get to that space, because a lot of people can't get there with a shaky foundation. And so coming back to the baby, like you're saying, name it right, take care of it, clothe it, make sure you feed it good content so your clients can want to come and visit you and pay money to you because they want to visit the baby. Like, there's so many analogies to overlap of like, well, would you do this to a baby? No.
Right.
Okay, so why do it to your business?
Exactly. So let's go back to the baby, because you give birth to a baby, you may have probably taken an entire 9 months to figure out the perfect name, for the baby, right? And I do know, like, when you definitely, how people lock down websites and different things, you got to do your research. But also, when it comes to legally getting that name, it could take a while. It could take, I think, up to a year, maybe longer, to make sure that you're able to even use that name. And I know that there's layers to that, and I could bring a lawyer on to kind of go over those specifics. But sometimes naming the baby officially could really take a long process. So what do you do knowing that the legal aspects of the name can take a minute, but this person is ready to start right now?
So that's the thing. One of the things that I offer my collective is a naming workshop. The naming workshop can take anywhere from an hour to 6 hours. Right? We actually, it's a 9-pillared workshop. We think about all of the emotional words, all of the attachments, all of the things that literally come into play when you're thinking about this name. The industry, what you want to offer, how you feel about what you're offering, how you feel about calling it that. And so with the actual pillared workshop, when we come up with the name, we already know no one else has that name. So even if you obtain everything, social media, and because that's also what goes into your favor, a small little copyright tip is you write that name down on a piece of paper and mail it to yourself. Never open the envelope. Make sure that it's postal stamped. So now when you actually do need to trademark it, you already know. You've done a search. You put that in the envelope as well. Like, no other names come up. And then this case, you secure the name on all platforms. The top 6 recommended your website. You also can incorporate it. When you incorporate it, the state will let you know how unique it is. We also search the Dun & Bradstreet profile as well to make sure no one has that name either. So when the name is not available on any platform, then you could then continue to use it, and then when you need to file for your trademark because of its unique ability, its creativity and availability, you then can now trademark your name, which of course takes a process, but you can still operate the business as long as it's fully available within your state. And so we make sure, again, you have everything that you can operate as, because if you do, then you have social media, you have a logo, you have a brand kit, you have the website, you have clients that know you by that name, and now you're going through the paperwork to actually file it. Because that's another thing too. If you are going for the trademark because you want it to be your intellectual property, that does take time, yes. But at the same time, you're still using it. There's nobody else. There's no duplicates. We've already established that this name is not available for anyone else because it's a unique name.
Got it. So, in business, you sometimes, because I think there's a miseducation on multiple streams of income. A lot of times people right now, before they even have one business working for them, they're going to get into so many multiple businesses where those businesses aren't necessarily generating money. And I like how I have you on here because you're talking about strategy and how important it is to really strategize your business, right? But at the same time, I think where people fail to realize is that multiple streams of income could be like that trucking example you gave earlier, where you've been doing trucking for a while, you have the system in place, now you're consulting. Some people may create some trucking because they know how hard it is, and I'm putting details out there, but they know how hard it is to find good employees, to where they might have a a referral service for employees. Like, all these different businesses branched in from starting from one parent. You know, they call it the parent companies. You have the multiple companies. And I remember when I worked in the film industry, you have, or just like, I mean, I'm assuming Tyler Perry does it this way. I know a lot of film companies does this way, where like you'll have like Tyler Perry Studios. I mean, I don't know how to do it, so let me not, so he don't come after me. But you'll have a main production company, right? But then a production company, that's the parent, and then each individual movie is its own business to protect the main production company, but each individual movie that they put out there, because you still got to go through the whole process with each movie, that to avoid lawsuit, but also because of the money coming in, and then each movie itself is a product, right, that you got to sell to all the different networks and whatnot. So knowing that, and then in your industry, like you mentioned, as far as strategy, how do you have people establish, like, all right, we got this parent company, now we want to get into other avenues because this part is working, and in order to scale up, this is another part. So what is the establishment of the parent to multiple other companies under it?
So yeah, there is, so that I'll use myself as an example. We have AJ Culture is the parent company. We have subsidiaries that are actually totally aside from coaching, right? And business strategy and consulting. So we have, like I said, Culture Unique is my digital design firm. We actually have Al Creance, which is our accounting and bookkeeping department. And then my son's company is the actual logistics consulting and logistics service business as well. Mm-hmm. So when we're thinking about that, most times people don't think that they need an operations manager. Now everyone's like, of all the people you want to hire, they're like, oh, I need a virtual assistant, which I'm like, it's a remote professional, because they're really good beyond just assisting you day-to-day tasks. So cool, I just need a VA, and I just need someone to do social media, or I just need someone to do these other things that I don't want to do. But let's mirror an actual business. Let's do a case study. For instance, you use Tyler Perry, but what soap did you use this morning to wash your hands? Because I best believe it's one of the brands in this parent company I'm about to refer to. So what did you use to wash your hands this morning? What's the soap in your home?
Dang, you gotta put my soap out there. I think it's the liquid soap. I think it's like Equate or something. I don't know. It's just the liquid soap.
Okay, so if we're looking at these particular brands, right? Because the soap itself requires R&D. It requires its own department. It requires that. So each actual brand is protected. Each brand has to have its own system. How do we actually get it to the client, right? So think of these as multi-systems that are happening at the same time. So when we look at Procter & Gamble, I say that because Procter & Gamble, they make L'Oreal. They make Iams, which is dog food. They make Tide, which is detergent to wash your clothes. And we all know them separately. And so now it's a conglomerate of different systems that are working, which have different products. Each system has their own marketing. Each system has their own operations manager who's actually fine-tuning the loss. So we go into a little bit more as to when we look at systems development, where we want to have someone who has Lean Six certification, Six Sigma certification, because why? They will minimize the waste. So if a client comes in and then they go through onboarding, and then from onboarding they go to the department to meet with them, and then they go through the actual operations manager makes sure that they don't there's no hiccup in the step, and we can make sure that they have deliverables in a set time, and there's no lack of quality for the consumer experience. At the same time, the work and the labor is maximized to produce that, right? So we do step into a little bit more when we talk about building systems, because that, I'm going to tell you, is not being spoken about in our culture. When we're building a business, we're just going to go start a business. Let's take it a step further. What are your systems? What's your SOPs? When we talk about your standard operating procedures, what exactly do you have in place? And you may very well have one. When a client reaches out to me here, this is what I do next. After they go through this, then I do this. Then I do this. Then I do that. That's your SOP. But at the same time, most people are not seeing it as the technical aspects of, I need to actually fine tune this and make sure I don't have waste in between those things that I'm doing. Do I need this step? Can I eliminate it and put it over here? Do they need to really go through this, and how long does it really take? Right. All of that will save you when you save time and money. Oh man, then you're able to maximize your profits. So when we're talking about doing subsidiaries, get your SOPs down for one business. Get it going so that it's automated. There's a book I constantly recommend, because when you're a part of my coaching collective, you do have to read, because there are tools in which it will take me time to sit here and go through the very things in that book. Right. So one book that I recommend is Michael Gerber, E-Myth. Because he's always talking about these entrepreneurs that are having these technicians that are having entrepreneurial seizures, because they're like, man, I could do this job all by myself. And then they get into this, building this business. Yeah. And then they got to wear the hat for accounting, the hat for OM or operations manager. Then they have to be sales. Then they have to be marketing. Then they have to be the janitor. Then they have to be the actual technician. So now they have to be all these hats that they didn't have to worry about when they were working for this company. So now when you're in this, like, it's like, oh, now I gotta take out the trash, and then I gotta call a client, and then I gotta sell somebody, and then I gotta do the website, and then I gotta do bookkeeping, and then I gotta hire people. Like, there's all these things that people as small business owners are not trained in. That's why there's specific professions that are good for these particular things, and you have to hire them. But then even when you hire them, you have to be able to know how to flow. And so Michael Gerber introduced building models. When you build models, the model is sellable, not the people. The people expire. But if you have a model that, like, wow, you got that down to a T, you can put people in and out of that and it still flows without you, yes, I'm going to purchase that. But if you don't have that mindset and it's based off of your labor, guess what happens? When you expire, so does your business. Gotcha. Well, if you don't show up today, guess what? In about 20 minutes, my company is launching a client, coachee, and I'm here chilling with you. So this is where, they already have a system. They're already ready to go. They got what they have to go. And I'm, able to continue doing what I need to do to maintain as an entrepreneur, or what I'm passionate about. So I'm not the labor behind my business. And so that's one of the things that, like, I really emphasize is, like, no, I'm going to really put it in your mind's eye that you need people. There and there's a shirt I'm coming out with. There's an I before us in business for a reason. Everyone,
you said,
how do you spell
you said it's an I before us in business for a reason. I love it. Sorry.
There's an us before I, right? So BUSINEES, right? Okay. So if we have the us, right? We have people that are uplifting us. We have we don't have the individual before the us, right? So it's really important that in business we have the us in business. The other part to it is that many of us are like, we're just telling people what to do because we can't do it. It's off our bandwidth. We don't have the space for it. But a part of structuring is to remember, and I use the analogy of a balloon, a hot air balloon. You sit in the basket, and guess what? If you don't fuel it, it don't go nowhere. The balloon is sitting flat on the earth, right? Once you start to fuel it, you give it financial, you give it encouragement, you give it the system and process. You start to fuel it. What happens? That balloon is ginormous compared to that basket. But at the same time, you can only go higher at the health of that balloon and the amount of fuel you feed it. So if you have this support that you give the team, they will keep you elevated, and not only elevated, but they'll keep you rising. And so this is again where it comes down to, if we understand we need to have other people to help us from the very beginning, we build our foundation to support the others that will come in place for the models that we're going to be building along the way.
Right. So you can step back. So I like how you said culture too, because I hate hearing people are real good at singling out black business owners. When we do something wrong, see, that's why I don't like, doing business with black businesses. And I always hate that because, like, to your point, and especially it depends on the type of business, because to me, in my experience, like, once we know, we do very well in business once we know. But yeah, a lot of times you're making your mindset off of somebody that just don't have a system in place. Like, you gotta, I always tell people, like, you gotta understand, like, yeah, it may suck, you may have lost money, you may have dealt with additional stress, like, it sucks, I get it. But at the same time, from a bigger picture, is that we're still years and years and years behind on having, like, most of us don't have parents to be able to teach us how to do a business. Thankfully, we have YouTube, but even with YouTube, when you don't know, you don't know. So you don't know where to start searching. And a lot of times people get stuck where they want to be a business owner. They don't know how or where to start. So they can YouTube it, but then they get stuck there. And some people, they'll get on there, and those people will never do. And then some people, they'll get on there and actually do, and they learn throughout the way by meeting people, networking, listening to podcasts, different things on how to actually put together a business. And then some people, luckily they have the capital to be able to invest and then learn that way. So that's what I wanted to put out there when it comes to the culture, right? Now, I typically, especially for millennials, since this is geared towards millennials, you're running into these these two categories of business owners, right? You have the multi-level marketing business owners where they're just like, I'm going to make this investment because there's a system already in place. I'm going to learn how to create a business and do it here. And some people are blessed with the opportunity to have great leadership to where they can actually grow a really good business. And then you have those that don't have good leadership and, they either quit or, whatever. So many different ways. And then you got those like, you know what? I don't like the network marketing or multi-level marketing model. I want to start my own business and a product. The difference between the two is one actually technically supposed to have a system that works. The other one doesn't have nothing. You're literally starting from scratch. So I know you said that you can help both types of, well, not both types, but you say you can help all businesses, right? Really develop their strategy and level from there. So most of my listeners is geared towards part-timers, right? So how do you help those part-timers of both categories grow their business to where they're able to eventually put themselves in a position to scale up?
So I will actually touch on three of them, all three that you mentioned. Multi-level marketing is just like your regular job anyway. There's a CEO and then there's everybody else. Guess what? Same thing. So if you know how to leverage it, cool. Every business needs the same thing. You still need clients, you need funding, or you need to invest into your business, and you also need the system, right? When you buy into a franchise, you buy into multi-level network marketing, you are literally buying a system. Someone has worked that system, you want to follow it. Same as the franchise, same thing. When it comes down to you doing it on your own, you're doing it part-time. That's the best time, actually. Because if you're not able to get the funding from somewhere else and you don't have clients just yet, leverage your salary. Leverage it in a way that you can hire other people to do the things that you don't have the time to. Because that's the thing. When you have cash, you have time freedom. When you have the ability to have funding, you have time freedom. Because you are not the one doing the labor. If we look at Ray Kroc, for instance, with him buying his milkshake stand, guess what happened? He understood time freedom, the duplication of time. So if you're working a job and you're part-time and you're like, man, I really got, I have this full-time job over here that's sucking me dry, and then I got, this passion that I want to really propel, and you can't find the time, how do you develop and duplicate your time? That means that you are employing someone who actually believes in what you have, wants to grow your business, and you also know what you want them to help you with. So even still, you need people. People. That's why I said it comes back down to the us in business. Because if you are working a job, perfect time for you to, and again, I look at Robert Kiyosaki. I mean, some of the things he teaches you is really spot on, and then just there's another part. It's just like taking bits and pieces. And again, as a strategist, is able to take those bits and pieces and be like, you don't need this noise, but you do need this. Mm-hmm. He does tell you, before you quit your job, leverage it in such a way that you have your SOPs or you have your system, and then you're able to use your capital to then invest, to then, find a way to duplicate your cash so that you can have the people that can do more for you, or you have the capital to do more for you. Mm-hmm. So if you're part-time and you're like me, who's a millennial, because I'm definitely like, dang, I'm like, we got a whole different kind of experience. We got everything's like, man, our parents didn't know. Now we got to learn on our own. Then we got to take care of our parents. Then we got some kids. There's a whole lot in the mix. And we like, man, this whole decade, this whole era is a whole struggle in and of itself, I tell you. But it doesn't have to be. It's a fact that, yes, there is information out there. But like I said, there's always the noise, the excess noise. Does this work for me? Is this what I need for my plan? Is this how I should do it? I've seen conflicting information. Which one's gonna, work for me? I don't know. And that's again where you have a lot of people who don't have the bandwidth and patience to do the trial and error kind of situation. It's like, oh, okay, well, all right, so I'm gonna try this. That didn't work. I'm gonna try this, and now you got people wasting time and money because they're trying to start off right because they really, really are passionate about it. So if you have a job and you are absolutely passionate about your very many businesses, I'm going to start with you write down what your business is. One of the things we do in our first coaching session I have with my collective is we write down a roadmap. What is this thing? What is at the top? And what are the legs of your organization? Let's work our way backwards. And so when we work our way backwards from the end in mind, we now know how to get to the end, because now we can map out the very things that's going to be required to get us the capital that we need. And so write down your goals. Write down what it is that you're absolutely like, I really want to offer this service. This is how I want to offer it. This is the value that I want to offer. This is my mission. These are the objectives. Because that's another thing. People don't actually go through the fundamental elements of building a business. They're not building a motto. They're not building a value system. They're not building the missions. They're not actually stating why their business is in existence. Why should it be around in 20 years? They're not going through that. So take the time to really flesh out your business and what its purpose is and why people need you. Because that's the thing, is we're not starting a business because we are the client. We're starting the business because we understand there's a product and service that can solve a problem for a family, a culture, a community, and it will continue to uplift the people that are getting these services from us. So again, like I said, if you have a business, if you have a job, leverage that capital. I don't downplay remote professionals, because my whole entire team is actually remote. I'm remote. So it's only right that as an international company, I have international staff. So, understanding that, and also building a company culture. That's what at your job right now you don't like. What at your job that you love, that you want to take into your own company? Because that's another thing too. People don't think about that. It's like they think about how they were treated, when in actuality they should be thinking about what they want to be treated like, and then doing that for the people that they work for.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, from what you learn in the workplace, if it's toxic, go ahead, sever that. Don't take it with you. Because if you have poor habits at being treated as a staff, that may transfer to you as a boss. And if you know that you want an experience that you never had, now is an opportunity you create it for the people that are going to work for you. Because then you create an actual thriving experience for them to be like, man, I love working for this company because they take care of me. Because guess what? You weren't taken care of, and you want to take care of your staff.
Definitely want to take care of your people.
Right. Because, listen, Richard Branson said it, and I always love it. He said, listen, train them so well that they do well when they leave. But treat them so well that they don't want to. And so when you have that in your mind's eye, guess what? you're going to make investments in people. They going to leave. They not for you. But at the same time, guess what? You know what you did? You treated them with the utmost regard. And that makes them the one to stay, because not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. People just want a good working experience that's not toxic and not inconsiderate of them as a person and a human.
Yeah.
As the Great Recession is happening now because people really just hate their jobs. They really don't. They're not being treated well.
Yeah.
So create a job and a company culture that really helps them, because you know what you have at your job right now. That will help you to then create an ecosystem that's survivable and supported, because the staff are going to maintain it. My company staff actually is planning a company retreat, and they told me about it after. I was like, hold on, what? Like, oh yeah, Aaliyah, we're going to meet up here, and we're going to have this here planning retreat. I'm like,
they didn't invite you?
And so, and they invited me after. They were like, we wanted to let you know, would you be okay with this? And I'm like, wait. And so they're planning it. They brought it to me, not asking me to have it. They brought it to me because they really love working with their teammates.
Wow.
I had a staff member who had COVID, and I was like, okay, well, I'll see you in 2 weeks. She said, no. As soon as I, check in with the hospital, nothing can stop me. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, she's, Aaliyah, we're going to get it done. We're going to take care of the client. And I was like, you can take care of yourself.
Right.
And come back. And I was like, but that's the same, like, drive, because they feel they've been abused. They have not been taken care of. They have been overworked, underpaid. And here, in my company culture, it's that I almost have ride or diers, because they're literally she was on the deathbed, and I'm like, not deathbed completely, but it was just like, dude, you're in the hospital, like, you take care of yourself, like, you don't have to work. But that was her desire and choice, that I really want to, and I don't want to miss this, and I want to be involved, and I love this, and this actually helps me, because I don't have to think about being in this state, but like, I'm actually fueled and invigorated, because it helps I'm happy to be here. Mm-hmm. And so when I was like, man, that's another problem I never thought, when you're sick, you call into work.
Right.
I can't make it. Right? Mm-hmm. My staff were like, man, Aaliyah, I'm not feeling well, but can I do a couple of hours later? And I'm like, how about you take care of yourself?
Right.
So that's the kind of culture where it's like, we're not, we have things that I've never had. Mm-hmm. And there's considerations that people don't extend to you because you think that you don't have to. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Look at the model of your business and how they treat you, and then you figure out a way in which you can implement it, because everything that you implement is totally possible. Where it's like, oh, you can't get paid leave, or you can't paid overtime, or you can't get these other things because your company restricted you. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have that in your company. Your numbers person can show you this is what's affordable, this is what you can do, and they will help you make it possible. Where it's like they can break down your numbers per sale and saying, hey, X amount of money goes towards this thing that you can offer your staff so that they can have, a better experience.
Gosh, yeah.
So,
and I think that's changing with
matters.
millennials. I think that's changing with millennials right now, because what's going on in the world right now, at least in the U.S., is that you have these companies trying to bring people back to work, within the pandemic, and people are like, nah, I don't want to go back to work, but they're in the old school mentality. A lot of them are older. They probably still don't know how to use computers, different things like that. Whereas millennials just like, yo, we can do all of this at home, but at the same time, when we're getting older, because people keep confusing millennials with these even younger people now. Like, no, they're not millennials.
Millennials.
Right. Millennials are into the position now where they're starting to get into those management and senior level management positions where they're like, hey, we want to treat people with respect because we saw our parents work like crazy, didn't get respect. And like you said, we're in a position now where we're taking care of them. So anyways, I thank you so much for, coming to the Millennial Network podcast today. And you do offer, I know you offer coaching, you do have your businesses. So can you kind of like share like your different businesses, how you can help them, and then what's the best way for them to reach you so that they can take advantage of what you offer?
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much again for having me. It has been a pleasure to be on your podcast. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button, guys, make sure you hit that.
Thank you.
And so, so definitely, you can find me at AJ Cultured, AJCultured.com. You can also find my full service digital design firm at CultureNique. That is CultureNique.com. You can also, if those of you who are interested and you want to actually save time, save money, and actually have someone as a one-on-one support to you along the way, I do offer 2 different types of coaching program. Just one is longer and the other one is, a condensed amount of time. It's a 3-month coaching program geared towards making sure that you have your proper structure and you can actually get your paydex score in 45 days. It is pretty aggressive, I want to say that, because we are making sure that we meet on a regular basis to maintain momentum and to make sure that you actually see results before the 3 months are done. And that is an actual time frame that most people can see results. The other program is a 6-month program. The only reason for the 6-month program is because you actually you're like, man, I've done so much in 3 months. What can I do in the next quarter? And it really does help you to take your business to the next level so that you can get more before it's done. And so the reason why I offer those 2 programs is that if a coach has to work with you longer than a year and you don't see results right away, your time and money is being wasted.
Right. And
so I always say that if a coach can be effective, they can be effective in the first month, second month, and even the third month. And there's no time to be wasted. And so in that, like I said, we do offer our full service digital design firm so that you one-stop shop, get everything that you need for your digital footprint, and then you're able to maximize your coaching because you don't have to worry about all these other marketing things that are required for you to build the digital footprint. So those are my offerings, and people can definitely find me on either one for further services or even inquiries.
Perfect. So again, y'all hear her. If you are new to business and you are looking for that strategy, definitely reach out to her. And I'll have the link at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to subscribe. And again, this is Coach Danny Renee, where your network is your net worth. And we are out of here. Peace.